I stood at my apartment window watching the sunrise the morning after I canceled my wedding. The weight of my decision pressed against my chest, yet somehow I felt lighter than I had in months. Finding out Amanda secretly invited Jack Winters to our ceremony was the final betrayal. Jack, the man who systematically destroyed my career and reputation, would have been sitting in the front row smiling at my commitment to forever. How could she not understand that some wounds cut too deep for forgiveness? Before I tell you how everything fell apart, let me know where you are watching from. And hit that subscribe button if you have ever had to choose between love, self-respect. 3 years ago, I was living what many would consider the American dream. At 30, I had established myself as one of the rising stars at Tech Vision Solutions, one of the most prestigious tech companies on the West Coast. After graduating from Stanford with my computer science degree, I worked my way up from junior developer to lead developer in just 5 years. My specialty was cybersecurity software, and I had an intuitive understanding of system vulnerabilities that my colleagues seemed to lack. My bosses noticed my talent early on. When I developed a patch for a major security flaw that our competitors were still struggling with, the executive team took me out to dinner at an exclusive restaurant overlooking San Francisco Bay. The CTO himself told me I was on a fast track for advancement if I maintained my performance. That night, drinking expensive whiskey and looking out at the twinkling city lights, I felt invincible. Work became more than just a job for me. Creating elegant solutions to complex problems gave me a sense of purpose that defined my identity. When people asked about me, the first thing anyone mentioned was my career success. I took pride in that reputation and worked tirelessly to maintain it, often staying at the office until midnight perfecting code or running additional security tests. My personal life remained secondary until the night of the annual Tech for Humanity charity gala. The event brought together professionals from across the industry to raise money for bringing technology education to underserved communities. I attended representing Tech Vision, not expecting anything beyond networking and writing a donation check. That changed when I literally bumped into Amanda while reaching for a glass of champagne. She wore a navy blue dress that complemented her auburn hair, and when she laughed at our collision, I immediately wanted to know everything about her. We ended up talking for hours in a quiet corner of the venue, ignoring the speeches and auction entirely. Amanda worked in marketing for DataStream, another tech company, though not a direct competitor to Tech Vision. She was brilliant, ambitious, and had the kind of confidence that made everyone in a room pay attention when she spoke. Our conversation flowed effortlessly from industry trends to favorite hiking trails in Northern California to debates about the best taco trucks in the city. By the end of the night, I knew I wanted to see her again. Our first official date was 2 days later, and within 3 months, we were practically inseparable. Amanda understood the demands of my job because she shared similar career goals. When I needed to cancel plans to deal with an emergency system issue, she never complained. Instead, she would bring takeout to my apartment later and listen as I vented about the challenges. After a year together, we decided to move in. We found a spacious condo in a neighborhood halfway between our offices with a rooftop garden where we spent evenings planning our futures together. 6 months after that, during a weekend trip to Napa Valley, I proposed among the vineyards at sunset. When she said yes, I felt complete in a way I never had before. We had compatible ambitions, mutual respect, and what I thought was unshakable trust. Everything changed when Jack Winters joined my team at Tech Vision. He came highly recommended from a competitor with an impressive resume and charismatic presence that immediately won over the management team. Jack was tall, athletic, with perfectly styled hair and designer clothes that made my practical wardrobe look shabby by comparison. In meetings, he spoke with authority that sometimes bordered on arrogance, but he backed it up with solid technical knowledge. Initially, I welcomed him. Having another skilled developer would help us tackle the growing project load. Jack seemed friendly enough, complimenting my previous work and asking thoughtful questions about our systems. We occasionally grabbed lunch together, and I introduced him to the team dynamics and company culture. Looking back, there were warning signs I chose to ignore. When we collaborated on smaller projects, Jack would subtly take credit for successful elements, while distancing himself from problems. During team meetings, he would occasionally undermine my points with phrases like, "What Dominic is trying to say is," followed by a slightly altered version of my own idea. These moments felt off, but I dismissed them as normal workplace competition. Amanda met Jack at the company holiday party that December. They seemed to hit it off immediately, laughing at shared jokes while I mingled with other colleagues. I felt a twinge of unease watching their animated conversation, but pushed it aside. My fiancée was naturally social, and I trusted her completely. When she later commented on how impressive Jack was, I agreed without hesitation. That might have been my first mistake. 6 months after Jack joined TechVision, I received the opportunity that should have defined my career. The company wanted to develop a revolutionary cybersecurity system, codenamed Project Shield, that would protect against emerging threats through adaptive learning algorithms. The CEO personally asked me to lead the initiative, calling it a potential game-changer for the entire industry. I assembled an elite team including Jack, whose expertise in certain programming languages would be valuable. The project consumed my life. I worked 16-hour days, 7 days a week, building the foundation of something truly revolutionary. Amanda supported me through those intensive months, bringing meals to the office and listening patiently as I explained technical challenges most people would find incomprehensible. Project Shield became my obsession. I meticulously reviewed every line of code, documented every decision, and personally oversaw each development phase. This was not just another project. It represented everything I had worked towards since college. Success would cement my reputation as an industry leader. Failure was simply not an option I contemplated. The first signs of trouble appeared 3 months into development. Jack began missing deadlines, offering plausible excuses about unexpected complexities or dependencies on other team members. When I reviewed his code contributions, I occasionally found errors that should have been caught in his initial testing. Nothing catastrophic, but enough to cause concerns I addressed in private meetings. During those conversations, Jack would appear appropriately concerned, thanking me for catching the issues and promising improved performance. He often added comments about how pressure from his girlfriend or family problems affected his concentration. These personal touches made it difficult to be too harsh. After all, everyone deals with outside stressors. What I did not see was how Jack was methodically positioning himself within the company. He scheduled golf outings with executives on weekends. He volunteered for cross-departmental initiatives that put him in contact with board members. He cultivated relationships throughout the organization, while subtly planting doubts about Project Shield's direction. In team meetings, he began questioning my architectural decisions in ways that sounded constructive on the surface. I wonder if we have considered all security implications of this approach, he would ask innocently. Based on my experience at my previous company, this could potentially create vulnerabilities. These comments appeared helpful, while undermining confidence in my leadership. As the critical deadline approached for our board presentation, problems multiplied. Test servers mysteriously went offline. Documentation disappeared from shared drives. Team members reported receiving conflicting instructions. Each issue required hours to resolve, adding to my already overwhelming workload and fraying my nerves. Amanda noticed the toll it was taking. "You look exhausted," she said one night when I finally made it home after midnight. "Is everything okay with the project?" "Just typical challenges before a major launch," I assured her, not wanting to burden her with the details. Jack has been dropping the ball on his assignments, which creates extra work for everyone else. Something flickered across her face before she responded. "Maybe he is overwhelmed. You always say he is brilliant but inexperienced." Her defense surprised me, but I was too tired to question it. Maybe I conceded, though my instincts told me otherwise. The morning of the board presentation arrived with catastrophe. 3 hours before our scheduled demonstration, I discovered critical sections of the system had been corrupted. Functions that worked perfectly during yesterday's final test now produced fatal errors. I gathered the team for emergency troubleshooting, trying to maintain calm while panic rose in my chest. Jack arrived late, expressing appropriate concern but offering little practical help. Instead, he spent much of the crisis period on his phone, supposedly reaching out to contacts who might assist. The rest of the team worked frantically to identify and repair the damage, but time slipped away too quickly. When the moment came to present to the board and key investors, we had managed to restore only partial functionality. I explained the situation, honestly demonstrating the working components while acknowledging the unexpected issues. The executives seemed understanding until the system crashed completely during the live demonstration, leaving me standing helplessly before a screen displaying error messages. The silence in that boardroom carved itself into my memory. Our CEO's tight smile and the investors' exchanged glances communicated everything words did not. This was not just a technical glitch. This was a professional humiliation. An investigation was immediately launched to determine what went wrong. IT forensics examined server logs and code repositories. Team members were interviewed individually about their contributions and observations. I provided comprehensive documentation of all my work, confident the investigation would exonerate me. I was wrong. Somehow the evidence pointed to negligence on my part. Critical security protocols appeared to have been disabled under my credentials. Implementation shortcomings were traced to decisions documented in my name. Most damning, several early warning emails about potential vulnerabilities appeared to have been received and ignored by me. The final blow came during the review meeting when Jack was asked for his assessment. With apparent reluctance and expressions of personal disappointment, he confirmed that he had privately raised concerns about my approach several times. He even produced emails supposedly sent weeks earlier outlining specific risks that matched exactly what had occurred. Within 48 hours, I was removed from Project Shield. 2 weeks later, I was demoted to a junior position. 3 months after that, during company-wide restructuring, my position was eliminated entirely. My impressive career trajectory crashed in spectacular fashion, with rumors of my incompetence spreading throughout the industry. As my professional identity crumbled, I noticed subtle changes in Amanda. Initially supportive with statements like, "They will realize their mistake," her encouragement gradually transformed. Comments became tinged with impatience. "Maybe it is time to move on," or "You cannot dwell on this forever." When job interviews failed to produce offers, her frustration became more evident. "Did you really highlight your strengths in that interview?" she would ask. "Thomas from my office got 3 offers last month with less experience than you." Most painful was her continued social connection to TechVision employees. She maintained friendships with several colleagues, occasionally attending happy hours or industry events where they would be present. When I expressed discomfort with this, she accused me of being paranoid and controlling. "Your problems with the company are your problems," she said during one argument. "I should not have to cut off relationships that could benefit my career." I never explicitly asked if Jack attended these gatherings, and she never volunteered that information. Some questions felt too dangerous to ask. The months following my termination were the darkest of my life. My identity had been so entwined with professional success that without it, I struggled to recognize myself. Depression settled over me like a heavy fog, making even basic tasks require enormous effort. Amanda's growing impatience only intensified my feelings of failure. Eventually, through a former college classmate, I found a position at Quantum Edge, a small but promising startup developing security solutions for financial technology companies. The role came with a significant pay cut and far less prestige than my TechVision position, but it offered something I desperately needed: a fresh start with people who knew nothing about my fall from grace. Gradually, I rebuilt my confidence. My new colleagues valued my input, and the company culture emphasized collaboration rather than internal competition. 6 months into the job, I received my first positive performance review and a modest raise. The validation felt extraordinary, after so long feeling worthless. With my career slowly stabilizing, Amanda and I refocused on wedding planning. We had delayed setting a date during my unemployment, but now she eagerly jumped back into arrangements. Her enthusiasm surprised me after the distance between us during my struggles, but I interpreted it as faith in our future together. Our wedding vision quickly became a source of tension. Amanda wanted an elaborate affair at an exclusive vineyard venue with hundreds of guests. The estimated costs far exceeded what we could reasonably afford, especially with my reduced salary. My parents offered to cover the difference, she announced after showing me venue options that started at $50,000. They want us to have a perfect day. While appreciating her parents' generosity, I felt uncomfortable with the power dynamic it created. Throughout the planning process, her mother increasingly made decisions without consulting me, justifying each with variations of, "since we are paying for it." More concerning was Amanda's insistence on inviting numerous TechVision employees. They were a huge part of our story, she argued, when I questioned the extensive list. And maintaining those connections is important for future opportunities. The uncomfortable reality was that Amanda had remained much closer with my former colleagues than I had realized. During my unemployment, she had apparently strengthened these relationships frequently, meeting for lunch or attending industry events with them. While she never explicitly mentioned Jack, I noticed she carefully avoided bringing up specific names when discussing these gatherings. 3 weeks before our wedding date, while searching for a playlist we had created for the reception on Amanda's laptop, I accidentally opened the wrong file. Instead of music selections, I found myself looking at the seating chart for our wedding reception. Scanning the names automatically, I froze when I spotted it. Jack Winters seated at table 3, with several other TechVision executives. The discovery felt like being doused with ice water. Jack Winters, the man who had systematically destroyed my career through sabotage and manipulation, had been invited to witness one of the most important days of my life. And Amanda had made this decision without discussing it with me. I closed the laptop and waited for Amanda to return from her Saturday morning yoga class, trying to control the emotions swirling through me. When she arrived home cheerful and relaxed, I asked as casually as possible about the final guest list. "I think we finalized everything last week," she said, pouring herself a glass of water. "Why do you ask?" "Just curious if there were any last-minute additions," I replied, watching her face carefully. "Anyone I might be surprised to see?" Something flickered in her expression there, and gone so quickly I almost missed it. "No one unexpected," she assured me, not quite meeting my eyes. "So Jack Winters will not be attending?" I asked directly, unable to maintain the pretense. Her shoulders tensed briefly before she sighed. "I was going to tell you about that. It just never seemed like the right time. The right time to tell me you invited the person who destroyed my career to our wedding." My voice remained calm despite the anger building inside me. Amanda set down her glass with deliberate care. "Dominic, that happened over a year ago. It is ancient history. You need to move on. Move on from having my reputation systematically dismantled by someone I trusted." I could not believe what I was hearing. Move on from being blacklisted in an industry I spent a decade building credentials in. "Maybe it was not exactly as you remember it," she said, her tone shifting to something that sounded practiced. "These situations are usually complicated." The implication hit me like a physical blow. "You do not believe Jack deliberately sabotaged Project Shield, do you?" Her silence answered before her words did. "I think there were mistakes on multiple sides. Jack has always spoken highly of your technical skills, but mentioned you might have been overwhelmed by the project scope." The casual way she referenced conversations with Jack stunned me into momentary silence. When I found my voice, I asked, "You have been in regular contact with him all this time?" "We occasionally meet at industry events," she said defensively. "The tech community is small, Dominic. And honestly, maybe if you had been more competent in managing that project, none of this would have happened." The words hung between us, impossible to take back. In that moment, I saw something I had been blind to for months. The woman I planned to marry did not believe in me. Worse, she maintained a friendship with the person who had orchestrated my professional destruction. "How long?" I asked quietly. "How long what? How long have you been friends with Jack? Throughout everything. When I was depressed and could barely get out of bed. Were you meeting him for coffee and laughing about my failures?" "That is not fair," she protested, but her discomfort was visible. "I never laughed about your situation. But Jack has been a valuable professional connection, and yes, we maintained contact. He has actually been quite helpful in suggesting potential opportunities for you." That revelation twisted the knife deeper. "You have been discussing my career problems with him, getting his advice about me. Someone had to do something productive while you were wallowing in self-pity," she snapped. "And Jack feels terrible about how everything turned out. He even suggested you network with him at the wedding to explore possibilities back at TechVision, now that management has changed." I stared at her, finally seeing the complete picture. My fiancée, the woman I had trusted, absolutely had maintained a close relationship with the architect of my professional downfall. She had shared my private struggles with him, sought his advice about my career, and now wanted me to be grateful for the opportunity to grovel for his help. "The wedding is off," I said with surprising calmness. "What? You cannot be serious." Her expression shifted from irritation to disbelief. "Because of a guest list issue, Dominic, you are being completely irrational." "No," I replied, suddenly feeling clearer than I had in months. "For the first time, I am seeing things exactly as they are. You never believed in me. Not when it mattered." I walked out of our shared apartment while she called after me, her voice rising in pitch as she realized I meant what I said. I checked into a hotel nearby and spent the night staring at the ceiling, processing the painful clarity of my situation. By morning, I felt certain of my decision. I began canceling wedding arrangements at 7 in the morning. Venue, caterer, photographer, florist, each call simultaneously painful and liberating. Most vendors expressed sympathy, though few offered refunds given the late notice. The financial loss felt insignificant compared to what I would have lost by going through with the marriage. Amanda called 17 times before I answered. Her initial anger had transformed to desperate reconciliation attempts. "We can remove Jack from the guest list," she offered immediately. "I should have discussed it with you first. It was thoughtless." "This is not about Jack," I replied, though of course it partially was. "This is about you not believing or supporting me when I needed you most. It is about discovering that the person I plan to spend my life with does not respect me." Her parents were less diplomatic. Her father called threatening legal action over their financial contributions to wedding costs. I calmly offered to repay their expenses in installments, which momentarily silenced his bluster. Later that day, Amanda's mother left a scathing voicemail suggesting I needed psychological help for my paranoia and inability to accept professional criticism. Our friend circle fractured predictably. Mutual friends awkwardly tried to remain neutral while slowly gravitating toward either Amanda or me. Several people I had considered close friends revealed their true loyalties with comments like, "Are you sure you are not overreacting?" Or, "Everyone has professional setbacks sometimes." A week after canceling the wedding, I learned through Thomas, one of the few friends who stood firmly by me, that Amanda had apparently been discussing potential job opportunities for me with Jack for months. These were not hypothetical conversations, but actual positions she and Jack had identified as suitable for my current skill level, which I understood to mean positions far below my previous role. She really thought she was helping, Thomas explained uncomfortably. She told everyone she was trying to rebuild your confidence through a stepping stone position. The realization that my fiancé had been actively planning my career recovery with the man who destroyed it without my knowledge or consent confirmed I had made the right decision. This was not love or support. This was control and betrayal packaged as assistance. Despite Amanda's parents' threats, I returned her engagement ring. The financial hit was substantial, but keeping it felt like accepting payment for emotional damage. I found a new apartment across town, smaller but entirely mine. I set firm boundaries with mutual friends, making it clear I did not want updates about Amanda's life or activities. She made one final attempt at reconciliation by arriving at my new workplace one afternoon. Standing in the reception area with tears streaming down her face, she delivered news she thought would change everything. Jack apologized to me for what happened at TechVision. He admitted there were serious issues with how the situation was handled. He wants to make amends. I simply thanked her for the information and asked her not to contact me at work again. Her stunned expression as security escorted her out stayed with me for days, but not for the reasons she might have hoped. I felt only confirmation that I had narrowly avoided a lifetime with someone who fundamentally misunderstood what loyalty meant. Recovery came slowly, but steadily. Weekly therapy sessions helped me address the trust issues stemming from both professional and personal betrayals. I reconnected with old friends from college who had no connection to Amanda or TechVision. Most importantly, I rediscovered my passion for programming outside the context of career advancement or external validation. 6 months after canceling the wedding, news traveled through industry channels that Jack had been fired from TechVision. Apparently the same tactics he had used against me had been employed on his new department head, but this time with less success. The executive had documented everything and presented irrefutable evidence of sabotage. Amanda reached out via email following this revelation. Her message included a lengthy apology, acknowledging she had been wrong about Jack, and by extension, wrong about me. She confessed to being attracted to power and success more than authentic connection, explaining this as if it might somehow excuse her actions. "I understand now what you went through," she wrote. "I should have trusted your version of events." "Is there any chance we could talk about starting over?" I responded politely, but firmly wishing her well while making it clear reconciliation was not possible. Some betrayals cannot be undone, some trust cannot be rebuilt. This was such a case. 1 year later, my life had transformed entirely. Quantum Edge had promoted me twice, as my security protocols helped the company secure major financial clients. I had begun dating Sophia, a graphic designer with no connection to the tech world, whose straightforward communication and genuine support showed me what a healthy relationship actually felt like. Looking back at that painful period, I realized losing what I thought I wanted had led me to find what I actually needed. The career setback forced me to rebuild on a stronger foundation of authentic skill rather than corporate politics. The relationship collapse revealed the difference between someone who stays when things get difficult and someone who only values you for external success. The most important lesson came clear. Someone who truly loves you, believes in you, when others do not. They stand beside you in failure, not just in triumph. They defend your character even when doing so is uncomfortable or inconvenient. No career achievement or social status can compensate for the absence of that fundamental respect. I often think about how close I came to compromising my self-worth for a relationship and career built on false foundations. Sometimes the hardest decisions, the ones that feel like giving up something precious, are actually the first steps towards something authentic and lasting. Has anyone ever made you choose between your self-respect and something you thought you wanted? Share your experience in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, please hit the like button and subscribe to hear more journeys of finding strength through difficult choices. Remember that sometimes walking away is not giving up, but rather choosing yourself when no one else will. Thank you for listening to my story, and I hope it helps someone who might be standing at a similar crossroads right now.